Those visuals of delegation-level talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Javier Milei of Argentina. Prime Minister on the third leg of the five-nation visit is in Argentina. These delegation-level talks will give a direction to the manner in which the two countries will be taking forward the close ties. We've been talking about diverse areas of engagement. There is in agriculture, in critical minerals, in defense, and also partners in Global South. Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj continues to be with us along with Ambassador Achok Sajjanhar. Professor Bharadwaj, we'll come to you. We saw those visuals of the leaders engaging in bilateral engagement. As members, as leading members of the Global South, what would be your expectations from the leadership?
I think India and Argentina, they have a long understanding about the representing the Global South, raising the concerns of the Global South. We must remember that one famous economist, Raul Previs, he was very popular economist in 1950s and 1960s. He had come out with the UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Developmental Issues. And that was basically representing the cause of the developing countries. And I pointed out in the earlier also that because of these UNCTAD and these kinds of initiatives from the leadership, economic leadership from India and from the Argentina, that the new international economic order has also talks that has come out and talked about the issues of Global South. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he has given a new directions, or you can say that an energy to the global, the voice of the Global South, while particularly talking about the G20 summit we had organized, we have hosted in India. There we had talked the number of issues, particularly when I talk about the global commons. In the global commons, the climate change, energy transition, and the development issues under WT and all that. The second issue that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has talked, that we will look forward to have a human-centric approach. What would be the human-centric approach? That unless until you will not address the issues of global goods like the health security, like the food security, and the other energy security and all that. So his visit to Argentina is also addressing all these issues that in his agenda. The defense is, of course, there's the defense corporations keeping the recent phase. What I'll say that this is a phase of the self-help system, that the developing countries, the countries of the Global South does not want to depend much on the Western countries for the security system. So they are looking and developing their own security mechanism. That's why they are talking about the cooperation in fighter jet, their cooperation in BrahMos, missiles, and all kind of defense corporations. They are coming out. But the second important point, what I'll talking about the global goods, there the agriculture sectors. In agriculture sectors, the soybean oil and oil products and all that kind of the trades takes place between the two countries. So we are looking the new technologies in agriculture sectors, that how we can cooperate, we can come out with the new technologies. And that Prime Minister Narendra Modi focused about the digital divide or technological divides that has been created between the North and South. So we are looking forward to deepen the relations of technical cooperation in agriculture sectors, so that you can come out. The third very important about the mining and of course the oil, the shale gas and shale oil were correctly pointed out as the huge resources in Argentina. And we are looking and we are forwarding and we are having the strong agenda in from the Global South about the climate change or transition to the cleaner energy or green energy. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has pioneered about the International Solar Alliance and all that. So this cooperation with Argentina will definitely will bring the transition in the energy sectors of India, while we will utilize the lithium that used for the battery, and that would promote the electronic vehicles here and all the other sectors where the battery is used. But one more sector that I'm also looking forward that Argentina and India can cooperate is the tourism, that we have huge potential of tourism sector in India, that we can attract the Latin Americans to come and have the very close look of Indian culture, Indian society, Indian heritage that historically we are having. Ambassador has correctly pointed out about that we are just not looking in the bilateral context. We are also looking in the regional context, that the Latin American, all the including Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Uruguay, all these are good destinations for the tourism for Indians, and that they can also reciprocate, they can come to India. So this industry can be a very important industry that can have a bilateral exchange, bilateral visits between two. The one very important points that you raised, and Ambassador has also addressed very well, about the Chinese factor. You know, the China is both the countries, India and Argentina, has also seen the colonial periods, the Spanish colonial system in Argentina and the British colonial system and we have seen that what the consequences of economic imperialism are having on these countries, that had delayed the development, that had exploited or dried the resources of India and Argentina during the colonial period. Now the Chinese, they have come out with another economic imperialisms, and the way they are reaching and trying to exploit and to drive the resources of these countries are concerning. That has been the lesson has been taken by the African countries. They are hardly now entertaining China, and they are looking India as an alternate to invest in African countries. South Asian countries, we have seen the debt trap in Sri Lanka and all that. So Argentinians are also very much conscious about the Chinese imperialist, economic imperialist approach, the way they are trying to complete and trying to dry and eat the resources, critical minerals of Argentina. So they are looking India as a partner in Argentina, and that's why the companies like the ONGC Videsh and that Anarsa is also an Argentinian company that is they involved. GAIL is also involved and having number of agreements. The other Indian companies in other sectors like TCS, Wipro, Bajaj, Godrej, these are also investing in Argentina, so that you can have, and you can see that Argentina companies like Biosciences, Bago, they are also investing. One very important sectors that India has been doing fairly good in this sector is the petro products. The petro products technologies, particularly Numaligarhs, that we are producing, and we are exporting to other countries in Southeast Asian countries and all that. We can also export to Argentina or the Latin American countries the petro products that has generated wax and all these things in Argentina. So these are the new areas that India is looking forward to have a greater cooperation with Argentina in particular, and that I correctly pointed out, Ambassador also correctly pointed out about the India's intent to expand its partnership with the Mercosur, where Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia, all these countries can become a partner. We are having around 18 billion trades with these Mercosur countries, and there are around 450 products have been identified that can be the source of the cooperations between India and these Mercosur countries. And we are looking either the preferential trade or the free trade agreements with these countries, so that the trade can be enhanced between India and these Latin American countries. The final point I would like to add here is the capacity build-up that India has been demonstrating globally about the capacity build-up, particularly through the service sectors. As I talked about IT solutions, as I talked about the doctors, the educationists, the scientists, they are contributing in different part of the world.
Okay,
so we'll
come back to you,
Professor.
We'll come back to you on the various aspects that you are highlighting. Let's look at how this visit of the Prime Minister is promising, even when it comes to boosting cultural and people-to-people relationships between India and Argentina. So there is admiration, Shubhendu, for Indian culture, yoga, meditation, philosophy, spiritualism, dance and music, that's visible in Argentina.
In fact, the way in which Indian organizations are working there, like Art of Living, Brahma Kumari, Ramakrishna Mission, Shivananda Yoga, ISKCON, among others, have extraordinary following in Argentina and Buenos Aires and outside. All editions of International Day of Yoga have seen large-scale and enthusiastic participation in Buenos Aires, as well as in provinces and International Day of Yoga events. There are around 2,600 NRIs, PIOs in Argentina. Majority of these live in capital city of Buenos Aires. This includes professionals working with Indian companies and multinational cooperation. A large number of earlier migrants who have been in Argentina for about 3 to 4 generations are in provinces of Salta and Jujuy. And we turn to Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar, who continues to be with us along with Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj. Ambassador Sajjanar, we were looking at the cultural connect that exists between India and Argentina. And one point that is really the distance, the geographical distance. It's really far away, 15,000 kilometers, New Delhi and Buenos Aires. How challenging does people-to-people connect, cultural exchanges become with these geographical realities? Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, no, you're very right, Shwendu. I think that definitely is a challenge. But then, you know, as it is said, culture knows no boundaries. Culture has no limitations. And I'm sorry. And so is the case as far as Argentina and India are concerned. You know, I mentioned about the fact that, you know, Rabindranath Tagore had gone there to Argentina in 1924. And, you know, he has a huge fan following there. And I know both the anchors, they would know so much more about Gurudev and his travels and his sort of, you know, connect with the different parts of the world. Particularly, I think, in, you know, when we are talking about South America, whether it's the north of South America, that is in Mexico, or it's in Argentina. That connect of Gurudev is very, very strong. And in addition to that, you know, his philosophy, his literature, his music, which is so very popular, you know, all that you mentioned about yoga and all. And, you know, once I think these things take root, then distances, and particularly today, these distances cease to matter because, you know, I'll tell you, sorry, the times are different today. You know, we can have over YouTube, we can have over so much of technology. But I remember when I was in Moscow, and this I'm talking about the early 80s, and maybe even later during the Soviet times or in early Russian Federation times, there were girls who were in the faraway regions, in northern region, Karelia. They had never visited India. In 1987, we had the Days of India in Soviet Union, and they made some pictures, some photographs, and they sort of, you know, disseminated, whether it was Bharatanatyam or it was Kathak, because we had our best performers going there and performing. So I'm just giving this example, which I have seen personally, and I have witnessed that, you know, at times we might think as far as business and trade is concerned, because there you are transferring real goods from one place to the other. But, you know, when it is to deal with culture, when it is to deal with dance, with music, yoga, for instance, you said all these, you know, over the last 11 years, it's been celebrated in Buenos Aires and in many other cities of the country, as far as meditation is concerned, as far as spiritualism is concerned. And I have seen in many countries, you know, when I was in Brussels, for example, in Belgium, there are so many places which have roots of, you know, the Brahma Kumaris, they have the roots of Art of Living, Anandamayi Ma. So, you know, I think our culture, our soft power has you know, capacity that without any disturbing anything, very seamlessly, they can seep through different places, different areas, and continue to expand, continue to disseminate. And the message that they are giving is not, of pitching one against the other. It is basically one of universal brotherhood. It is of love. It is of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. The whole world is a family, and how you can sort of, how individuals can make themselves better and how they can collaborate better. So I think this message is a very universal message that we send out, even as far as Indian scriptures are concerned. They are very popular, whether it is Mahabharata, whether it is Gita. They are very popular because the message that they give is one of positivity. It is not of putting people against each other. So, as you said, to wrap up my response, yes, distance is a challenge, but Indian culture has been able to overcome all these challenges. And Argentina is an example, shining examples. Brazil is a shining example, and I think there are so many other examples all over the world. Shubhendu.
Yes, Arun Sharma, our correspondent, is now joining us from Buenos Aires in Argentina. Yes, Arun, we understand that the delegation level talks had begun. What is it that we can expect now? Do we expect exchange of agreements between the two sides after this?
So as of now, there is a detailed discussion that is scheduled between both the leaders, followed by the delegation level talks. Now, importantly, yes, a lot of aspects can be expected as far as the delegation of the DLT is concerned. And yes, when these two leaders are meeting, we can expect a lot in various sectors. Discussions are likely because even Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted that on various sectors, on various aspects, detailed discussions will be held with the top leadership of Argentina. And yes, from tech to IT to defense to the rare earth elements, all these are the topics that are likely to dominate the agenda when both the leaders are meeting. But interestingly, when we say that picture speaks louder than words, we saw that how both the leaders hug each other. This showcases their personal rapport, their bonding, and there are various aspects that connects India and Argentina. Earlier we were talking about the soft power. There is also football diplomacy that plays around, and we know this fact that in 2023. When the then foreign minister of Argentina, when he was in India, he brought the T-shirt, the official Argentina T-shirt, and he gifted to Indian Prime Minister Modi. And even Indian Prime Minister, he tweeted for the victory of when in 2022 when Argentina won the World Cup. At that time, Indian Prime Minister was one of the top and prominent leaders who congratulated the Argentinian teams. This shows that how complementary, how both nations are coming together when it comes to football as well. And on the other side, we know that yoga, Ayurveda, these are some of the important aspects. But we should not forget this fact, Munmun, that as we mentioned about the delegation level talks, we know this fact that in 2018-19, primarily, the strategic partnership was formed. The bilateral relation were upgraded to strategic relationship. Now, this is very important. Now, from there, where are the relationship between India and Argentina going? That will be an important point. That will be a stepping stone in that direction, because for any two countries to form strategic relationship, it requires mutual trust and respect for both the countries. This showcases that how both countries are opened up on the basis of trust to open their critical and strategically important sectors for each other. That includes defense, that includes nuclear, that includes critical minerals and mines. And in that direction, because we have the basis of the strategic partnership, so on that basis we can expect on various aspects the discussions will be held between both the leaders, and focus, of course, as I mentioned earlier as well, that this relationship is complementary in nature, whereby on one side India is looking for a cooperation and collaboration as far as rare earth elements or the minerals are concerned, specifically lithium, because India has high ambitions to become carbon neutral by 2070. And so on the other side, Argentina is looking for, or it has great interest in India's digital public infrastructure. It has great interest in India's tech and innovation, because various think tanks, the corporates of Argentina are saying this point that India has great leadership when it comes to the tech innovations, entrepreneurship, and last but not the least, digital public infrastructure. They are attracted towards the youth talent pool of India. And this is something that can bring both India and Argentina closer. And yes, lot to expect after this delegation level talks as well, because, the basis is the strategic partnership. And on the other side, we can expect that wide-ranging discussions are likely to be held between both the leaders in that context.
Right, Arun, I'll come to that final point that you mentioned about the potential of the youth. We were talking earlier about how culture knows no bounds. In the area of people-to-people connect, what are the expectations and hopes of the people as these two leaders discuss the road ahead for India and Argentina together?
So, India and Argentina are separated by almost 2 continents. It takes almost 30 hours to travel from India to Argentina, and of course from Argentina back to India. But yes, the people-to-people connect brings both the nations together and closer to each other. As you rightly mentioned, there are various segments of the Indian diaspora, the people-to-people connect, and the business community is also an important aspect in that direction. I would not say that free trade agreement will be likely very soon, but yes, because we know this kind of free trade agreement takes a lot of negotiations, a lot of discussions, but the think tanks or the councils like India Argentina Business Council, they are saying that they're deeply interested, in India and Argentina moving towards the free trade agreement or preferential trade agreements, because this is beneficial for the business community here in Argentina, for the business community on the private players back there in India as well. So yes, the trade agreements or basically the initial discussions of the trade agreements, that can be an important aspect. Second important aspect, that how can soft power be given a major push? Because I had a discussion with various member of the foundations who are promoting the Indian culture. One of them was Hastinapur Foundation. Even Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned the name of the Hastinapur Foundation in his Mann Ki Baat address, and for of course promoting the Indian culture in Argentina. So yes, how can more emphasis can be given to the Indian culture? Because various initiatives like Bharat Ko Jano, that is taking place here in Argentina as well. The embassies are conducting these kind of initiatives. So people are knowing more about India, they're knowing about Indian culture, they know so many interesting aspects, the interesting trivia about India that even we do not know about, that interesting facts. So yes, this initiative of Indian Prime Minister of Bharat Ko Jano is propagating the Indian culture on the global platform, on the international platform, and this showcases that how people are also adopting the Indian culture. Yesterday we saw that how the Argentine cultural artists, they were performing the Indian dance, the Malhari dance. So this showcases that how India's culture is being adopted by the people of the world as well. So what to expect? I mean, there's a lot to expect, that how can flight connectivities can be increased, how can there be relaxation as far as the visas are concerned. So these are some of the expectations of the people of both the nations, because yes, when you are separated by 2 continents, when it takes 30 hours of time, you expect that certain concessions be given from both sides. So yes, a lot of expectations from the people-to-people ties, but yes, business angle, the business community expects a lot, because it is business, because once you start doing business with any country, the closeness starts coming. Obviously, there is a closeness in the relationship as well. So yes, the business community is expecting a lot from this visit of Indian Prime Minister Modi as well.
Absolutely. Stay with us, Arun, and Ambassador Sajjanar, we'd request you to stay on with us, and let's tell our viewers about the engagements that happened just a short while back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid a wreath at the San Martin Memorial in Buenos Aires.
That's right, and Prime Minister paid homage to Jose de San Martin, who is widely regarded as father of the nation, father of Argentina, at the Plaza de San Martin in Buenos Aires.
his international visits, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has consistently honoured global icons whose legacies transcend borders.
That's right, from Africa to Asia and to Latin America. He's paid tributes to visionary leaders who've shaped history through courage, leadership and service to humanity.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has paid tribute to great leaders, not only on Indian soil, but also across many countries during his foreign visits. Places where extraordinary people shaped history through their ideas, struggles, and leadership. This tribute is dedicated to those leaders who not only guided their nations, but also made contributions unparalleled. It is a homage to these inspiring individuals and to the enduring values of freedom, justice, and humanity that continue to unite the world even today. During his international visits, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has honored the memory of several iconic global leaders and dignitaries. On Thursday, he visited the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park in Ghana and paid homage to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the founding president of Ghana and a towering figure in Africa's freedom movement. The Prime Minister laid a floral tribute and observed a moment of silence in recognition of Dr. Nkrumah's enduring legacy of freedom, unity, and social justice. On Saturday, PM visited the Plaza de San Martin in Buenos Aires, where he paid homage to José de San Martin, who is widely regarded as the father of Argentina. The PM laid a wreath at the memorial there. During his official visit to Mauritius in March 2025, Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tribute to two eminent figures in the country's history. Sir Sivasagar Ramgoolam, the founding father and first Prime Minister of Mauritius, and Sir Anirudh Jugnauth, former President and Prime Minister. In September 2022, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the state funeral of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe at the Nippon Budokan in Tokyo. He paid respects to a leader he regarded as a close friend and a staunch supporter of the India-Japan partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Nelson Mandela Foundation in Johannesburg in July 2016 to pay tribute to the legendary anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela. He also visited Constitutional Hill to honor the legacies of both Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. In March 2015, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the funeral of Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of modern Singapore and the country's first Prime Minister. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, Arun Sharma, our correspondent, continues to be with us from Buenos Aires, tracking the developments very closely, reporting on the visit of the Prime Minister to Argentina. Arun, you told us that in 2019, the visit became a strategic partnership, became a strategic partnership, and which means a greater focus on space, on nuclear cooperation, and also on defense cooperation. At the end of Prime Minister's two-day visit to Argentina, now what can we expect in terms of substantial outcomes going forward, which can really give a boost to this strategic partnership in these sectors and more?
Well, as far as the outcomes are concerned, the Ministry of External Affairs will be doing a press briefing on that aspect. But yes, as our sources, the think tanks with whom we are discussing, they are saying that there's a lot to expect as far as this visit is concerned. First of all, it is after 57 years. Any Indian Prime Minister is coming here in Argentina in a bilateral format. So this speaks louder than words that how India is looking forward to a Latin American country. India is engaging more with Latin America. The geographical distance can't separate us for a longer period of time. And therefore, India is now engaging with Latin America. On the other side, in this, when we are seeing that a lot of, trade wars are happening, when we are witnessing that, the supply chains are getting disrupted, there are countries which are looking for trusted partners. Trusted partners where democratic values are there. And Argentina is looking forward in India that how can a trusted partnership with a trusted friend and partner be built upon, and a big market can be an access can be achieved as far as the market like India is concerned. So yes, the relationship between India and Argentina is complementary in nature, as Argentina is looking forward towards India in terms of big market, in terms of digital public infrastructure, tech, AI, and economic technological aspects. So on the other side, India is looking forward towards Argentina as far as the rare earth minerals are concerned. Already the private investment, the private participation, the Indian companies are there as far as the rare earth minerals are concerned. But how to expand these capacities, how to go forward as far as these capacities can be enhanced, the focus will be on that aspect. So lot to expect as far as the outcomes are concerned. But here's the broad contour is that, number one, India is connecting with, or India is taking forward the global south and becoming the voice of the global south via this entire visit. And secondly, the rare earth mineral or the element is going to be the center stage as far as the visit of Indian Prime Minister Modi to Argentina is concerned.
Ambassador Ashok Shahjanar, if I can come to you, sir. Now, just looking at some updates on my phone, says that the news update says that President Donald Trump is likely to start sending tariff letters to countries from coming Monday. Would it be important and interesting to also see Prime Minister Narendra Modi's engagement with countries of the global south in the context of these trade and tariff shocks that the world has witnessed in the past? From here, Prime Minister would engage in Brazil with the BRICS nations, which is also an important congregation of developing countries from the global south.
You're very right. Sorry. No, you're very right, Shubhendu. I think that is definitely, BRICS was established, meaning it was first proposed in 2001 that there should be the emerging economies should have a bigger say, should have or will continue to have a bigger say as far as global economic architecture is concerned. And then we started coming together from 2006 when the foreign ministers of the four countries, BRIC, at that time it was BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, China, they met together on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, and then starting with the summit meeting in 2009 in Yekaterinburg in Russia. So after that, of course, every year these meetings have been held, and I think that gives an indication, in terms of the seriousness with which these members take their association with the BRICS. And the whole idea is, some people would like to, for instance, China has its own problems with the United States. Russia has its own problems with the United States. One of the new members, Iran, we've seen that, it has been at the receiving end of military attack from the United States. So, these countries might consider that, we can put BRICS as an anti-Western grouping, as, something coming together. It is to challenge the West, to challenge G7. But that is definitely not as far as India's perspective is concerned. We consider the BRICS to be a non-Western institution, but not an anti-Western institution, because we have excellent relations with all the Western countries. And we know that, when we are on the path to Viksit Bharat 2047, then definitely we need the collaboration and cooperation and support, which is mutually beneficial of the United States, of Western countries, whether it is technology. So I think even as far as the United States is concerned, as I had briefly mentioned earlier, we are in the mid, or rather, at a very advanced stage of finalizing a unilateral a bilateral deal, a trade deal with the United States. Hopefully it will come through, because India has taken a very tough stand to preserve and safeguard its economic interests, its social interests, as far as the issues of agriculture, of GMO, of dairy, allied sectors are concerned. So hopefully we should be getting that. But definitely, the question that you asked, Shubhendu, that the voice of the global south has to be amplified. And in that context, I think BRICS can serve a purpose if it does not engage in the path, go on the path of adopting an anti-Western stance, but of saying what are the areas in which the global south can come together, and as far as, whether it is climate change, whether it is sustainable development, whether it is supply chains, resilient supply chains, those are the areas where we work together, rather than sort of, taking on the West head on, as if, the BRICS is, has been constructed, has been created now as a counter to the G7 or to the Western nations.
Right, Ambassador, we'd suggest that you take some warm water or tea or coffee to clear your throat. We can understand how it's been a painstaking experience for you. But for now, we'll tell you that in an exclusive conversation with DD News, Dr. George Vera of the Prema Ayurveda Trust has said that Ayurveda is gaining tremendous recognition in Latin America, especially after the establishment of India's Ministry of Ayush.
And he noted that Ayurveda played a vital role during the COVID pandemic as well in Argentina, highlighted the growing interest in Ayurveda studies across the region. Dr. Bera expressed deep gratitude to India for opening the doors of Ayurveda to the world, praised in particular Prime Minister Modi's leadership in promoting the ancient science globally.
Ayurveda is becoming popular in a country like Argentina. To talk more on that, I am joined by Dr. George Vera, who is the director of Prema Ayurveda Trust. Sir, first of all, thank you so much for joining us on Doordarshan. My first question to you is that, what attracts you towards Ayurveda? What brings closer to you for the Ayurvedic practices and Ayurveda treatment?
Ayurveda has impacted me because it has the opportunity to bring together body, mind and soul, and also nature. And also Ayurveda see the person in the whole, and also have the opportunity to see health and balance and disease, and has the opportunity also to bring a lot of natural treatments that are very useful for the patient.
So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we have seen he has given major push to Ayurveda. He has established an Ayush ministry in India, and he's taking Ayurveda on a global platform internationally as well. So how do you see these efforts of Indian Prime Minister for giving a push to Ayush or Ayurveda?
Sir, I'm going to India since the last 40 years, almost 40 years. And I have seen how the field of Ayurveda have changed after the creation of Ministry of Ayush under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2014. Since things have changed a lot. For example, we have now different MOUs with very serious Ayurvedic institutions like Central Council Research in Ayurveda, Rajasthan Ayurveda University, ITRA in Jamnagar, and that's also possible because India has opened Ayurveda for all the world, and for this reason we have full gratitude to India. And this reason also we appreciate the work from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
And also let me understand this from you, that how popular is Ayurveda? Is the West, or primarily you can say that is Latin America, is adapting towards Ayurveda? Are they going forward for the Ayurveda treatment? How is the response of the people of Argentina primarily?
Sir, I want to share with you. I have checked all the medicinal plants from Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India. Almost 80% of that medicinal plants are available in Latin America. You know that under the pandemic, the Ministry of Ayush have provided some guidelines. 80% of the medicinal plants for that guidelines are also available, for example, here in Argentina. The medical doctors consider that. I have conducted research, almost 3,000 medical doctors in our country who have checked not related with the Ayurveda. And 50% of them consider that Ayurveda should be taught at the university level, and 60% consider that Ayurveda should be taught at the PG level.
My last question to you,
yes.
What are your expectations from Prime Minister Modi's visit? How closely are you watching it as far as Ayurveda is concerned?
You know that in the Western countries, the people consider Ayurveda only for food. But Ayurveda has a big treasure that are the Ayurvedic remedies. And I hope that the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will help to introduce more Ayurvedic remedies also into our community.
Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us. So clearly, Dr. Vera mentioning this point that in line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of one world, one health, now Argentina is also rapidly going towards the Ayurveda practices. With camera person Vinay, Arun Sharma, Doordarshan News, Argentina.
We look at
Yes.
the manner in which traditional medicine, in fact, has been taken forward, the cooperation in the domain Ayurveda becoming hugely popular in Argentina. Our correspondent Arun Sharma got us that report.
Absolutely. Professor Bharadwaj is now back with us. Professor Bharadwaj, we heard the conversation on the popularity of Ayurveda. Isn't it India's gift to the world? I mean, alternative medicine, including Ayurveda, yoga,
Yes.
these are aspects that can bring a huge qualitative difference in anyone's life. It can help deal with stress. It can help deal with a range of diseases and disorders. Do you think the world values this as India's gift for, again, no copyright or no IPR? So how do you think this is received? Because we heard the panelist say that he expects more Ayurvedic medicines to be introduced, more remedies to be introduced going forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. While we are looking at the two areas, one is India is considered the mother of democracy, and another is that very important aspects that India had contributed to the world community is the in the sector of health, and particularly the traditional medicine sector had been contributing and bringing the new facts before the world community through the Ayurveda. While I remember the traditionally like the Charak and you can say Susain, Ved and all that, and when you read the Ramayana and all that, you will find that Sanjeevani Bhuti. And in the villages, Indian villages, that is still the people do not want to prefer to go to the allopath and for the doctors for the treatment. They take all kinds of traditional methods of treating any kind of wound or any kind of thing, disease that take place in the rural India. So, and it is the things that it is keeping India as healthy India. Of course, for the as in the context of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he talks about that let's have the human-centric development, and I think that in the human-centric development, the health is very, very critical, very important sector that you have to keep the fit of people's health, and it would be fit by their mind, and of course this would also keep the fit people for in other sectors that comes with the education and economic development and all that. Once we will have all these three aspects, education, economic development and health, then you can talk about the comprehensive development of a human being. And this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi is emphasizing while he's meeting with the international communities and any forums that he emphasized. And particularly, you correctly pointed out that we have the Ayush Mantralaya is highly focused. I can see in my university now we have been focusing about the social sciences, but now we are supervising a number of good students. They are working and focusing on the traditional methods in the health sector and Ayurveda and Ausdis and how we can treat the people at the native. The second very important point, again, it has come out the Yoga Day, the International Yoga Day. It has been popularized that around 177 countries have joined the India's international yoga initiatives that has kept keeping fit. And the yoga has been widely accepted people, and it has helped India to understand India's cultural heritage. Number of people I know that they are in Indonesia, they are in European countries, they are in Latin America, that number of trainees, yoga teachers, they are working. So it has been contributing largely to keep the world's health intact. That world, if the world is healthy, then you can see that they will they will think about the human-centric development. They will think about the global peace and stability. If the world is not healthy by their mind, then they will fight like they are fighting in the Middle East today, and they are fighting in the Eurasian countries today. So the health is very critical, very important, particularly while you talk about the meditation and yoga. They are keeping people calm, and for the peace, these are very essential things. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit and to Argentina and Latin American countries will definitely have a special emphasis on these non-traditional security issues that inherited India historically, and we are giving you, that what the world is thinking today, we have thought about much earlier in the ancient period in all the sectors. I talked about either you talk about health, education. We had the world-class universities like Nalanda, like Taxila. We have the Gurukul education systems. So education sector, health sector, even in the people's voice or people's participation in the decision making and policy makings from Janpada periods, you can see. So, and the Argentina is also now one of the leading democratic country in the world. So we are having that kind of convergence of interest and similar mindsets, and we are thinking today to cooperate in these critical areas where the world is looking forward to have a better cooperations. So I hope that this visit would be definitely make the world healthy by their mind, by their body, and by their different initiatives and thought process that would bring unite people and what India believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So we believe the well-being of entire nation. As Ambassador also pointed out that Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore has visited to Argentina in 1924, and he also talks about that these minds healthness in their mind. He was invited by Victoria Ocampo, and the Victoria Ocampo also visited to India, and Prasar Bharati has given her honorary delayed degree in that, and the other peoples that has come out about the Indian philosophy of Buddha. As I correctly pointed out, George Borges has written a book, very popular book, is What is Buddha, and that has contributed about India's cultural heritage that has owned historically, and now it is spreaded over the world. Even in other areas like the strategic thought, what we are talking about is strategic partnership, what we are thinking about interest relations and state-to-state relations, we had thought much earlier, while Kautilya's Arthashastra talks about Mandal theory, and that this is highly implied in today's context. You see in the South Asia, you see in the Eurasian countries, you see in the Gulf countries, that Kautilya's Mandal theory is quite relevant to. So India had thought much earlier what the world is thinking about the in education sector, in health sector, in other areas. Only thing is that now the new technologies has come out, so we are trying to imbibe these ethos and values into the new technology. So a balanced approach, a balanced developmental development can be advanced to the countries or for the human well-being.
Right. Ambassador Sajanhar, hope you're feeling better, sir. Just to show you, I'm getting some empathy scratches in my throat. But sir, just to take forward this important symbols of soft power, yoga and Ayurveda. What is the power that they represent? And from your rich experience in diplomacy, I'm curious to ask if it was always like this. And these are ancient Indian traditions. But was the world always as receptive? What has changed now?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, Subhendu, I'm feeling much better. I'm sure your and Munmun's good wishes have definitely had a very important role to play in that.
Great.
Thank you. So, no, you're right. Meaning I speak about, since you've spoken about referred to my diplomatic experience, let me tell you, when I was in the Soviet Union in the 1980s, early 1980s, Ayurveda was known, but there were huge challenges in front of Ayurveda. Yoga was known, but it used to happen in small pockets. It was not a movement. What has happened over the last 10, 11 years, because this has been recounted by External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar very vividly, that when Prime Minister Modi came to New York for the first time after he was elected, he took his oath of office in India in May, and then he went to New York to address the UN General Assembly in September. And there, as they were doing the brainstorming, as is the usual case, whenever any ministers or prime minister comes, every morning you are getting together to discuss what are the issues, what is the plan of action, how you are going to take it forward. At the end of the day, you get together and say, okay, what is it that you have been able to take forward, and so on and so forth. So discuss the plan of action. So on that morning, Prime Minister Modi suggested that, let's do something that is different, that is unusual. No one came up with anything. He himself came up that let's make this proposal of having an International Day of Yoga. And everyone was taken aback. And, yoga, Bikram yoga and other forms of yoga are very popular in the United States. But as I said, they are in pockets. They are in self-contained sort of things. It's not. Now, when he proposed it in his address in the end of September, okay, meaning I think there was some raised eyebrows. No one thought it would be, it would be taken up in so comprehensively by the global community. I think the credit definitely goes to the manner in which the whole campaign was taken forward. But ultimately, 177 countries co-sponsored this resolution. I think this is a huge achievement. And similarly, what the director of the IABC was saying, setting up of Ayush, and because it gives it that scientific underpinning. And that is what I think people in the world are, wanting, that, okay, these things are coming, there should be proper quality control, there should be proper scientific, technical explanation as to what does it exactly do. And so, there has to be some scientific examination that has to be done. So I think all that is being done and all that information is being provided. They would like to know, okay, in Ayurveda, if it has any side effects, if it has any problems of that nature. So I think what the Prime Minister has been able to do, what the NDA government has been able to do, what they have been able to achieve over the last 10, 11 years is to make all of this a movement. Meaning I can, maybe it's not, I hope it's not an exaggeration. When Mahatma Gandhi, he started this, whether it was the Dandi March in 1930, took people, it was a movement. There were all such, independence groups that were focusing on independence for the country. But he was able to get all of them together and make them move forward in a united way. And I think this is what has been done as far as yoga is concerned, the International Day of Yoga. Every year it is celebrated in different parts of the world. And it is, of course, it is spearheaded by our embassies which are there, by our consulates, consulate general which are there. But it is being taken up by the local people, local schools, local, cultural centers, yoga centers, and they organize it. And I think this has given it that additional character which has popularized it, taken it to the masses in a very, very big way. Shubhendu.
Right. Also, Ambassador, we've in the past spoken about the geopolitical implications of, what China is doing, for instance, there in Argentina. But can you explain to us in this great power competition between America and China, where does Argentina stand? And how does India fit into the picture? If you can look at the big picture here.
Responding to where stand as far as this is concerned.
Yes.
India is a very integral, now from 2019 onwards, India has always been invited to all the G7 summits. India is a member of the Quad. India is a very active member of the Indo-Pacific. So these are Western-led organizations, if I can put it that way. And India is very strongly and actively plugged into that. India is also, meaning G20 is an organization that straddles across, the East and the West and the North and the South. And India is a very prominent voice there. Now, as far as, some of the Global South organizations, whether it is BRICS or G20, because we have brought the issues that inform that, of our interest to the Global South in the G20. So India is a very strong and very active proponent as far as BRICS and G20 are concerned. So as far as India is concerned, we straddle across these divides, and India is a bridge as far as East and West, North and South. Very few countries that can speak to both President Zelensky and President Putin. India is one of those few countries. Even as far as the North and South, we participate in all the northern groupings like the G7, like the Quad, but we articulate the concerns of the Global South. Now, coming to Argentina's position, you would recall that when the 2023 Johannesburg BRICS summit took place, then there were 6 countries that were invited to join the BRICS. And one of them was Argentina. And Argentina at that time, just around that time, if I remember correctly, the Johannesburg summit took place in August of 2023 in South Africa. And 6 countries, you have Egypt, you have Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Ethiopia, and Argentina. Argentina was one country. Elections took place. President Javier Milei, he was elected, and his policies are more right-wing. And so while the earlier government had agreed to positively consider this invitation to become a member of the BRICS, but President Javier Milei, he regretted the invitation, so he did not join. So his association with Mr. Trump, because that is also a right-leaning government, so his association with Mr. Trump, with the United States, is very strong. And as you know, as far as India is concerned, our partnership with the United States is the most consequential partnership, notwithstanding, the wrinkles and the hiccups that have taken place in the recent past on, the alleged mediation in the Operation Sindoor, etc., etc. That is something else. We need to deal with it differently on a parallel footing. But if you look at the partnership between India and the United States, it is a very broad, it is global, it is comprehensive, it is strategic. You take whether it is trade, we've spoken about the minilateral trade deal that is being negotiated. You look at energy, you look at defense, you look at healthcare, you look at education, you look at geopolitics, you look at Indo-Pacific. There is a whole host of areas in which India, and look at technology. That is one of the most important elements. There's a whole host of areas in which India and the United States are cooperating. They are collaborating. So I think we are on the same page as far as our partnership with the United States is concerned, both Argentina and India. And I think that provides even a greater bonding between the two countries, between the two leaders, which will help us to take whatever we are talking about in terms of energy collaboration, in terms of critical minerals, rare earths collaboration. I think it will help us to finalize some very concrete, ambitious, significant agreements between the two sides.
Right, so we now turn to some more stories and updates that have come in from Buenos Aires. In an exclusive conversation with DD India, Jose Toscano, President, American Region, Godrej Consumer Products Limited, has said that Prime Minister Modi's visit to Argentina marks a turning point in India-Argentina ties. He highlighted the strong complementarities between the two economies, especially in sectors like pharma, agriculture, digital infrastructure and technology.
Absolutely. So Toscano praised India's massive reforms and called its digital public infrastructure a global game changer.
I'm joined by Jose Toscano, who is the President and CEO of the American region of Godrej Consumer Products Limited. Sir, thank you so much for talking to Doordarshan. First of all, how are you looking at the Prime Minister Modi's visit to Argentina? How will it give a major push to the trade and the business ties going forward?
Thank you for having me. I think this is a very important visit, a historic milestone for the relationship between India and Argentina. I see a lot of complementaries between the two countries. I think, India has a lot to offer to Argentina. When I think on the pharma industry, medicines, taking down the prices that Argentinian consumers pay for drugs and medicines. I think on top of that, industrial machines, I think India has upscaled their game over the past decades. You have big scale, very big productivity lines that we can have benefit of bringing them into our country. And I think Argentina still have many things to offer to India, on the agri sector, oils, seeds, talent. And I also think, the agenda that Prime Minister Modi is bringing, reducing regulations, cutting down taxes, I think it has a lot of similarities to what President Milei is doing in Argentina. So I'm sure this will be a milestone and a turning point in the relationship of the two countries looking forward. Yeah.
So when we talk about developing economies, the global south, what advantage do you see in India from the business point of view?
I think if I compare India to US or even to China, I think the two main benefits is that you have a lot of efficiencies. So the price of goods of machines are much more competitive in comparison to US or even to China. Also the caliber of talent that you have in different sectors, different industries, I think it's world class, and I think Argentina has many opportunities to benefit of that. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you see the reforms that have been undertaken by India recently and of course in past 1 decade? Do you think this gives advantage to India as well to capture this big market, amidst this trade war that is happening right now?
Absolutely. Argentina is a big country in Latin America. We are talking a country about 47 million of population, GDP per capita of around $14,000 US. And I think all the measures that Prime Minister Modi has taken in terms of bringing down taxes, promoting the private sector to grow, I think that really turns India into a competitive advantage to win in Argentina and to improve the trade balance between the two markets. I think that's a key advantage that India has among some other countries when we think in bilateral commerce.
Thank you so much for talking to Doordarshan. So clearly, this is the view of the corporate sector here in Argentina, that India has a competitive advantage, and therefore this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi can prove to be a game changer as far as giving a major push to the trade ties or giving a major push to the economic ties between both the nations. With camera person Vinay, Arun Sharma, Doordarshan News, Argentina.
And on that note, it's time to wrap up this special broadcast. Such a pleasure it was to speak to you, Ambassador Sajjan Har and Professor Bharat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking out time for this. And we'd also like to thank Mr. Gustavo, who had joined us in the beginning of the broadcast, and also Arun Sharma for joining us with his live inputs from Buenos Aires.
And while our coverage of Prime Minister's visit to Argentina continues non-stop, the special presentation concludes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Javier Milei are in delegation-level talks. In a short while from now, we should know the outcome of what went on. But for now, we'll conclude this presentation.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.